Hi, I'm Christine Herman of Herman's Quality Meat Shop in Newark, Delaware. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about pork ribs. Are you ready? Pork ribs are amazing. One of my favorites. I think pork is a very flavorful cut of meat anyway, but one of my favorites out of all the cuts of pork is, or are, excuse me, the ribs. And I have 3 different types of ribs on my block from the pig that I want to talk to you about in this video. The first one, which is probably one of the most obvious, is the baby back rib, and that's this guy right here. And baby back ribs are the bones that off the pork chop, and maybe I should start with the pork chop, but I'm not going to because I've already started talking to you about this, so crazy me. So when you buy a baby back rib, you want to make sure it's nice and trimmed. You're going to have a little bit of, lots of lean, but a little bit of fat as well. You want to always make sure that the membrane is removed, and in this particular piece it is, so that's a good thing. Just going to take this little guy off right there. You always want that membrane removed because that is chewy. And we've talked about membranes, cartilage, things like that in other videos that you can't chew. So you want to make sure that that is removed. And that is a standard procedure for us here at Herman's. I'm going to set that right there so you can take a look. And I'm going to give you another visual. This is a piece of rib pork chop. And you can see here how beautiful that is. But see these bones? That's the baby back. Okay, it's the same bones. And this has a second muscle on it, and that's the rib portion. And let's see if this is peeled back or not. This looks like it's been peeled back also. So that's good, again. But what I want to show you, and the reason why I have this here, is so that you can see and understand where the ribs come from. They come from the pork chop bone. It's the bone from the pork chop. So if you were to go into a store and ask for pork chops, you would get this bone and this piece of meat. But what we do, is we take this piece and we cut it through the center of the bone like this. We remove this heavy bone off the back, and then we make what we call a country style rib. And to do that, we finish it off by opening it up, butterflying it like so, okay? And then we split it right between, excuse me, right between the bone as such. And there's your country style rib like that. And you have these beautiful, delicate pieces of meat. And you can cut them all the way through, or you can cook them as a whole. And some people like them in smaller portions. And some people actually like them boneless. So you basically just get a boneless pork chop. But that's okay. That's what you want. And this is the cut of meat that it comes from. So that right there is your country style rib. And there you can see how beautiful, how meaty that is, both sides like so. And it's got a tiny bone on either side, that rib bone there, so you can see it. The third piece of meat that I have on my block is what is called the flat rib, or I could turn it into a St. Louis style rib, okay? And this particular piece, we've talked about this. This is from the loin and the rib section. And this particular piece, interestingly enough, you may be wondering, or maybe not, where it comes from, but it is actually from the belly of the pig. And this is the pork belly. This is where your bacon comes from. And this guy will sit on top of him like that. And that is how the animal is naturally, okay? So you have the belly, and then you have the rib on top of it. And you don't typically buy it like that. You probably will never see it like that unless you come to a specialty place like our store where we can get it. It's not very often, but we can get it. However, we're just going to remove this just so that you can see the pork belly. We've had other videos with the pork belly and the skin on or the rind on. I'm just going to set that aside just for, opportunity for you to see how it comes off the animal. So this is, again, the flat rib, the actual rib of the animal. And this piece here is basically the skirt or the diaphragm muscle. I'm going to keep that on. I'm going to trim some of this fat off just for a second. And I'm going to take this piece of breastbone and take it off because you can't really work with that very well. There's a little bit of meat on the back of it, but most people don't have any use for that. But what I am going to do is, as I said before, make sure that this membrane comes off. And if you don't buy it this way, you want to make sure that it's off. And one of the ways you can tell if it's on or not, you can see, maybe by the video, if I turn it this way, you can see how white it is and how light it is here. But one of the tricks that I do is I take my fingernail, and if I can't poke my fingernail through to the meat like I can here where I've just pulled, then I know that that membrane is still on, because it can be a little tricky to tell. And it's hard to grasp, so you can take either a towel or a paper towel. I'll use a paper towel because you might not want to get your clean dish towel at home dirty, but you could certainly use a paper towel so you have something to grip. That's real important. And doing this with a glove on isn't real helpful for me, but we'll work through it. And then we just pull and it comes right off. Make sure you remove the paper towel as well. And then you can take the membrane off. Again, you don't want to be trying to cook that because it's chewy and you'll choke. And that's really important that you remove it because you don't want anybody choking at your house from something that you've cooked. So now I've removed it. And if I'm not comfortable, I can always use my knife and trim it a little bit more if I want to do that. And you can see, you never want to cut towards yourself, so I'm going to turn the meat this way towards you and push my knife towards the camera instead of towards my body. We're going to have a video one of these days about knife safety and care, but for now we're going to do it this way. And you can trim whatever you want off, however much fat you'd like, and so on. So let's take a peek on the other side, and you can see how beautiful that is, just the way it is. And lots of good meat. There's a little bit of it's not really cartilage, but it's bone in here, and then there's you can see that white right there. So there's your flat rib, and we can make this into more of a St. Louis style if you like by just squaring it off this way, and that would be your St. Louis style rib right there. So you have to take your pick, one or the other. So this is a very meaty piece of meat and rib versus your baby back, but I think your baby back is far more popular, especially in restaurants. And your country style ribs are the meatiest. So let's talk briefly about cooking and how to prepare these. Most people slow roast them, or they grill them, or smoke them. That's an awesome way to prepare them, smoking them. So dry rub typically on any one of these, or just salt and pepper, whatever you prefer. You can make your own. Certainly you can buy rubs. They're very popular right now. Rub both sides. You can cook them immediately, or you can let them marinate overnight if you'd like, and put them in the smoker if you're going to smoke them low and slow for several hours, and then put your barbecue sauce on them at that time, and then continue to cook them a little bit longer. What I like to do is pre-cook mine. I don't have a smoker at home, so what I like to do is I like to put them in the oven. I put my ribs in the oven after they've been rubbed down, I like to do bone side down this way, so it kind of creates a little rack on its own. And add a little bit of water to the bottom of the pan. Always layer your pan with foil because that makes cleanup that much easier. And I like to bake them for about 45 minutes till they're just about done. So they're just about 165 and they're tender and they're just starting to fall off the bone. And then I put my barbecue sauce on them, and at that time I put them on the grill for another 10 or 15 minutes to continue to get that caramelization with the barbecue sauce as well as finish that cooking. If you're not a person to grill, you can put that barbecue sauce on, you can put them back in the oven, turn the heat up from 325 that you were baking it previously to more like 400 degrees, or you can put them underneath the broiler for a couple minutes and again get that caramelization on it if you'd like. They're simple to cook, they just take a little bit of time, but when they're falling off the bone and they're at least 165, 175 degrees, you know that they're done and they're delicious. And then at that point, you can cut them up. And certainly you can cut this into portions if you'd like right between the bone, and cook like 3 or 4 bones at a time. And the same thing with this if you'd like. And then you have more manageable pieces if you don't want to do, excuse me, one full piece at a time. It's strictly up to you what works best and what your kitchen and your cooking situation allows. But that's just, whatever you decide. And the same thing with your country style ribs. They're excellent and easy to prepare as well. A little more dense, a little more cooking thickness, but again, low and slow. It's amazing. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope you give your pork ribs a try. They're plentiful in the stores, and we always carry these as well, and one of my favorites. So thanks so much. I have a simple kitchen tip for you, and it may be very obvious once again, but that's okay because this is kind of a fun one for me. I have before me 4 pair of scissors. They're all pretty simple, similar, basic, different sizes. They all serve a different purpose or the same purpose. These in particular come apart for easy cleaning, and these in particular also have some ridges on the edges as well. So cutting paper kind of leaves a little bit of a pattern on it. So do you have scissors in your kitchen? I think everybody has a pair of scissors in their kitchen. I know we have one in our office or in our desk or maybe on our workstation somewhere else in the house. But I want to talk to you about how you use your scissors in your kitchen. And I want you to comment and let me know how you use them, because I think it's fun and there's lots of different ways. So some of the obvious are opening a bag of potato chips or a bag of anything, or cutting paper. That one's obvious, right? We all do that. So how about, and I thought this was a pretty cool idea, I learned from somebody else, how about cutting up spaghetti? And this got a little sticky on me. These are full strands of spaghetti. Say you have a small child at home and you don't want them to choke on something like this, so you take your kitchen scissors and you cut up the pasta. I thought this was a brilliant idea because for me, I'm a meat cutter. So what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to reach for a knife. Obviously not something that big in my kitchen, but like a steak knife to cut up pasta. But why not use scissors to cut meat, vegetables, pasta, anything small enough for a child or a baby to use with their fingers to cut up tiny pieces. Brilliant, right? That wasn't my idea. I did learn that from somebody else. Another idea for your scissors is cutting up leaves. What kind of leaves? Leaves of herbs, basil, parsley, celery in this case. Why not? It's so easy. Instead of putting it on a chopping block, and then when you get to the actual rib, you can continue on and keep cutting. So look at that, how easy that is. Again, my go-to is always the knife and a cutting board. But now, all I have to do is wash my scissors when I'm done. Another idea that I do all the time, and I just did this the other night at home, is I walk through my house and I look at my inside plants. And if I have fresh flowers, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull out my scissors and absolutely keep them clean in between. Personally, I have 2 pair of scissors in my kitchen, one that I use for my plants, which are something like this, a nice heavy-duty pair of scissors, and something lighter that I use for my vegetables and opening up bags and so on. So if I have if I have a plant that needs to be pruned like this one, this is getting a little leggy and it needs to be trimmed, I'm just going to reach in and snip it. And I have just used my scissors instead of worrying about having a garden tool in my kitchen or handy, because they're not always handy. And this guy here is dying or dead, so I toss it. But that is what I like to use my scissors for. And then I will take this and put it aside and make sure I wash it really carefully and really well, and obviously not mix it with my foods. So there you go. How do you use your scissors? Tell me in the comments below. Please, I can't wait to hear some of your ideas that I haven't thought of or somebody else hasn't either. Thank you. Pork ribs, yum, one of my favorites. We have 3 varieties. Again, we have our pork flat ribs, we have our baby backs, and our country style ribs. They're all delectable in their own way. I challenge you, I tempt you, I encourage you. Try them all. Let me know which ones are your favorites and how you've enjoyed them and how you prepared them, most importantly, because I'm always looking for ideas as well, because I'm sure you have some good ideas also. So please remember to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more videos so we can keep on keeping on with what we're doing. And please become a part of the Herman family. Thank you so much.